It's time for a little Saturday morning fun time! Brought to you by Fuel Up Hydration System. Fuel Up helps keep you hydrated and energized throughout the day and relaxes you at night. Fuel Up is your 24-hour hydration system. Your show manager is Martin Acosta Santana and John Aaron Schmidt. And your producer is Bill Skywatcher. I'm your announcer, the Comic Relief Crusader. And now, your hosts, Tom and Gerry. Gerry.
It's not rocket science. Just say yes and we'll move on.
It's not rocket science. It's a show. Let's see who else is here right now. Anybody in there?
Hello, all you
Keely
happy
Chow is here. Enema is in the chat. Dragon Ruse and Kocho Dragon is here. Tom is on his way. It's rough on him for Saturdays because he does Salty Nerds and then us, and it's part of our custody agreement with Tom. The drop off times are very difficult. If you've ever had kids, you know what I'm talking about. Oh, look, there he is. There's Tom. Hey,
Sir,
Tom.
you are muted if you are trying to speak.
Hello.
Hello.
I was just explaining the custody agreement between Salty Nerds and us with you. With the whole drop-off times.
No worries. I'm away from my PC for a few minutes, but I will be back there.
Roger that.
All right.
So people will slowly trickle in. We're going to be talking about Raiders of the Lost Ark today. It's a favorite film of ours. And, of course, we're doing it because Tom and I know that this weekend saw the release of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And we wanted to go back and talk about a good Indiana Jones film that told an actual story. And instead of bashing on the current trend to, cash grabs like they do, this is, sadly, I think there are some good things about this new film that I enjoyed. I enjoyed the first 20 minutes of the film.
That's
Well,
what
at
I've
least you
heard
got
for
that
everyone.
much out of it. I couldn't even enjoy that.
There were problems with it because the CG was really getting my attention. Because like when he falls, when he swings and falls and lands on that broken deck, his hands didn't look right. They didn't look like he didn't look like he had gravity, like weight. And
Honestly, none of it looked like it was actually filmed on an actual set. 90% of it looked like it was all green screen or volume.
It looked like cut scenes from a video game. And yeah, I don't know about the volume on that one. Everything looked CG, everything looked fake, and even including his body, the way it interacted with the ground when he fell, because his hands landed like this. The full weight of his body lands, and his fingers land bent like that. And that's unnatural. It doesn't happen. So it's one of the first things we learn when we, doing comic books is, how to show weight when somebody falls. Because the problem with doing comic books is you're trying to do action with static images. And so my eye is trained to look for stuff like that. And so I had problems with that. But the first 20 minutes, I still had found a way to enjoy, Tom. I still did. It felt like an actual Indiana Jones moment. Oh, hey, I've got two of you.
You know what's really crazy?
What's that?
Think about it. Mission Impossible comes out in like 2 weeks, and what's the big set piece for it? A train fight. So literally, like Indiana Jones is kind of gonna have like the negative, and then we're gonna see like the positive, like real people on a train in just 2 weeks.
It's just there's always a difference. But again, the first 20 minutes, and the last 5 minutes were the only thing enjoyable. The rest of it was just really hard to deal with. And I felt like I was enduring it rather than watching it. Are you here, Tom?
Yeah, I'm just on my mobile for the moment. I'll be on my PC in a few minutes.
No problem.
But yeah, it's a shame what's happened to this character, but we're here to celebrate what Indy was, not what.
Yeah, and so instead of focusing on all the negative things that we can say about this new film, we're going to focus on a classic, the one that got it right. I would say, still, Raiders is the best of the original three, the original trilogy. It has the better story.
I enjoy it. It has, to me, I have a soft spot for Temple of Doom, but I mean, I will admit that probably
I love Temple of Doom.
The best story of all of them and the best representation of what Indiana Jones should be and what it's based upon and all that kind of business.
What year were you born?
Lost Ark. I was born in 80.
Okay, so my son Benjamin was born in 83, okay? And he was a toddler when Temple of Doom came out. And I couldn't play the soundtrack because I like playing the soundtrack at home while I worked and did stuff. And I couldn't play it at home because it terrified him. The whole Molo-Ram, Pseudo-Ram music. I knew there was a problem with that film because it terrified my son. I enjoyed the film. I really did. I liked it.
See, now it was that aspect that I gravitated towards Spielberg and Lucas, where they were able to take, and go a little edgy with some of that stuff. And that's what's really missing in current Star Wars and, that kind of a thing. And even in this movie, a little bit. It felt like, there were some edges to it, but it wasn't the kind of edges you would normally see in an indie movie.
Yeah, and if you remember, though, Tom, there was a Rolling Stone interview with Spielberg, and I think Ford was involved with it, too, where Spielberg apologized for Temple of Doom.
Well, and it's one of the direct results for the PG-13 with Gremlins, yeah.
Well, he apologized for the darkness of that film, and he had said that Last Crusade was his physical apology for the previous film, Temple of Doom. And so Last Crusade was lighter and once again went up against Nazis. I was listening because Robot Head was shitting on the new film, and he's shitting on going against Nazis. It's like the whole, Indy's predominant part of his life was fighting the Nazis. So, of course, that's one of the most interesting things that we want to see. And we had problems with, I'm saying that word, and I need to stop saying it, Yahtzees. We had problems with Yahtzees going up into the 60s. People don't know that.
There's also a factor that they kind of forgot, and that's really start with Crystal Skull. And it was kind of in Temple Doom. There's a lot of aspects to these first three movies that are very horror-orientated, especially the deaths.
Yes, there are horror elements. There's no doubt about it. The melting of Tote is one of my favorite moments. Belloc exploding was great, but the two Krauts deaths were awesome. And that was done, through, of course, practical effects done at ILM back when they were still experimenting. They weren't sure how they were going to do things. Now it seems like they know how to do everything before they do it. Am I wrong?
It's actually one of those cases where limitations breed better creativity. Like we can do anything we want to do now.
Yeah, you just hit the de-age button, or you hit the magic whatever button nowadays.
Or you watch.
I know it's a little more complicated than that, but I'm just being facetious.
No, I know you're making a sarcastic point. It's sort of like ILM hired that guy because of Corridor Crew. I don't know if you watch them, Tom. I'm an addict for Corridor Crew, and they had that guy that did fix Luke Skywalker, and ILM saw what was done over at Corridor Crew, and they hired him.
And I heard they forgot all about that with this Indiana Jones movie.
Oh yeah, it's still. I will say it's better than what we got with Tron 2. Legacy, is that what it's called? Tron Legacy, was that it?
The second one, yeah, because there's that new one that's coming out,
which was just awful CG, just awful. But and you'd think that they would fix it, because they could fix it. Because they got a third film coming out now, and you would think you go back and, hey, why don't we fix that and re-release it in 4K? So Jeff Bridges
Gerry,
doesn't look like a cartoon.
The reason that won't happen is that they spent too much money developing that technology, and then to just go for a deepfake guy would it be admitting failure and that you wasted your money. I love egos.
They know they failed. They know they failed. So I think they could do that. It's just, are they willing to do it? Under the current management, I don't think it's possible. That's just it. They're just lazy. And I do believe that this film will prove to be a bridge too far for Kennedy. You and I were kind of talking about that because, Tom, that, because Doomcock was talking about it with Cameron. And, of course, Valiant Renegade. I forget his name. I always forget his name. And WDW Pro.
Jonas, you mean?
Jonas, thank you, Jonas. I always forget his name. We're talking about, that the rumor is that she's gone. But one of the rumors I heard is that she's, doing the vacation button thing. And that's why they're not getting a ping on her email. Unlike Hedlund, whose email was completely deleted off the servers. I think it's going to be slightly different. I think that in reality, she's just turned off her email because this is not a very good time for her. She knows that this was a bridge too far. I don't think she can survive this debacle of the new Indiana Jones film tanking the way it is.
Well, how much blackmail material does she have left to go? Okay.
I don't know. I always suspected she knows where all the bodies are because even Robert Evans, one of the greatest executive producers, studio heads in the history of the system, was constantly being threatened with being fired. That guy created The Godfather, brought out The Godfather. He did he did so many cool movies, great movies, Oscar-winning films, Chinatown. And yet he was constantly being threatened. Kennedy just seems to be bulletproof, Teflon.
With Raiders, one of the things I find most interesting, because I was thinking about it, because we're going back over it, that this is one of the only films where, in essence, Deus Ex Machina, and where God helps Indy throughout this entire movie, and it works for the narrative.
Yeah. Was that it?
Well, yeah. I was basically going, it's like there's several instances where he should die, and then something gets in the way. That's not his doing. Even at the end, God is in essence keeping Indiana Jones around so the Ark can get to the United States. That's it. That's his purpose in the story. God loves the USA.
Who's echoing?
That's me.
Oh, okay.
No, as far as Kathleen Kennedy goes, I don't think she's gone. But I'm not saying this movie won't be her undoing.
No, I don't think she's gone either. I think she's hiding.
Well, no, I don't even think she's hiding because this is what really? I don't know. Really? For some reason, I guess I'm the only one who knows this, but there's a tradition between Steve and George, and I'm assuming Kathy and
go to Hawaii.
Guys, that they will go to Hawaii and cut off all communication during opening weekend of an Indiana Jones movie. I think that's all that's going on there. If there's any truth to that part of it.
That would be the only thing she got.
Yeah, but I'm not saying at the end of the day, once the dust settles on this thing, that this might not be one of the final factors. But they will never announce her being fired. If she's fired in any kind of public way, I'll be very surprised.
It'll be hushed and swept under the carpet. No, I agree. It'll be one of those.
Not even so much that as just like a retirement of sorts, basically. But I don't know what she's willing to do if this movie doesn't do what it's supposed to do. That scares me because she is one of the most powerful people in Hollywood. And yeah, back when Bob Evans was around, you're right. He had to deal with shit constantly. But at that point, they were looking to sell the studios off and just sell the movies to the television stations.
Yeah, because the corporation that owned them is an oil company, as I recall. They owned them, and they were just really wanting to cut his throat. Robert Evans. And if I ever told you, Tom, my best friend Jim that I grew up with, who's been on our show, his sister Annie married Robert Evans, and she's his widow. She's like my little sister. It's really weird.
Small universe.
It is a weird universe. They did a joke a long time ago that you could play 6 Degrees of Gerry and connect me with just about any actor in Hollywood by at least within 6 degrees. Some of them within 2, because I work for Dale Dye, and he's worked with a lot of fucking actors. But anyway, I wanted to point this out. This is something that you and I both know. I know you know this, is that this shot in the film is so cool to Star Wars fans because all those little people in that car going over the edge of that cliff in Raiders, those are all Star Wars action figures. They animated.
Yep. It's the era of we can't logistically do it, so we have to get really creative.
Yep. It's like, how do we do these things? Because ILM had not fully evolved yet. They were still growing. And
well, it also helps drive the story instead of it being just some basically like, I mean, I compared this newer indie movie to a Transformer movie. That's what it feels like.
It does, because it's so big. The explosions are so
Well, not just that. It's a simple plot. Good guys or bad guys have what the other guy wants. They got to get it. By the time they do, end of movie.
Well, and that's part of the problem, Tom, that I have with it. And I said it last night to a couple of friends that it's a plot, not a story. And it needed a story. It lacks a story, an actual story.
What little story there is depressing as hell.
Yeah. So it fails, because both Raiders of the Lost Ark, well, actually all 3, Raiders, Temple, and Last Crusade all have really strong stories. And it's something they lack today with a lot of these things. It's like one.
Well, not just that. All the things that the three first films have in common is that the MacGuffin isn't so much driving the plot.
Right.
In Crystal Skull and in this film especially, the MacGuffin is driving the plot.
Yeah, pretty much. It's also, it doesn't help that the Crystal Skull is just such a weird thing. Like, I know about it beforehand, but it's not something like, let's the Ark of the Covenant or the Holy Grail.
Well, not only that, Spielberg picked the Holy Grail because it was the Holy friggin' Grail. What else do you go for after the Holy Grail?
Because that was supposed to be the last one. I still love that interview where he was like, "I'm done with this." Indiana Jones goes off into the sunset, and that really was the.
He literally finds the Holy Grail. I mean, where do you go from there, right? Like,
it's nowhere to go with it. That was the ending, and I've kept saying, like, why did they make more films? Because we got the trilogy. We got a great ending. He got his dad back. You just, I don't know, man. But I know that Harrison Ford has said that he wasn't done with Indiana Jones, but I think Spielberg and Lucas were. I think it was a huge mistake making Crystal Skull.
I mean, the plot for Raiders, or the basic core of what happens with Indiana Jones, would not be done today, because you in essence have a non-believer becoming a believer by the end of this film.
Yeah.
That's the basic journey he goes on, because he goes on a journey of enlightenment, which is why there's these giant light motifs throughout the entire movie. It's how you discover the Ark. You use light, the light of enlightenment, the light of God.
Yeah. Well, we're at 19 minutes in, and we need to get the slideshow going while we talk.
Yeah.
So Paramount can plug us.
Weird. Our layout's really weird. There we go.
Yeah. I always love transitions like that, where it's like one thing becomes another.
But yeah, once they weren't going to release through Paramount anymore, it kind of sucked for us too, because I like that connection of the Paramount logo to something within the movie. It would transition. I don't know. It's going to be blocking the subtitles the way we have it laid out right now.
Alfred Molina too. I mean, it's kind of crazy to see him here, and then you don't really see him in too many things until like Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
That's because he's a more Shakespearean theater actor too.
Yeah, the next time I saw him, where I knew who he was a white. You switched. I just did an edit. There we go. Was Prick Up Your Ears with Gerry Oldman, which was back in the 80s. Did anybody else see that movie? I'm the only one who saw that movie. Prick Up Your Ears with Gerry Oldman and Molina. It's a very good film. It's a biopic about two gay theater guys, and one, Molina's character, is so obsessed with the other one, and the other one is a narcissist. So only about their feelings and what they want. And in the end, the other, Molina's character, beats him to death with a clawed hammer in his sleep.
Very nice. Oh, and
it's a love story.
It's a love story. It's a comedy.
No, but here's another thing with the character about the darkness and the light. How does Indiana Jones get introduced? He's in darkness and in shadows.
And then steps into the light.
It starts to step into the light, and that's his entire journey.
What is this film?
Well, what's Indiana Jones's appeal? And this kind of goes to the new film and what's wrong with Shaw, right? Indiana Jones's appeal is, when Short Round goes, we're doing this for fortune and glory. He's like, yeah, fortune and glory, kid. Because he knows that's not what it's all about. To him, it's about preserving the past. It's about, it should be in a museum. It's, it's history. He's a Robin Hood of sorts. He's robbing the past to bring it to the present. And, he's not doing it for the money of it. He's doing it for, the historical aspect of it.
Yeah, he loves history, and he's just that 1 degree separated from Belloc, who is his shadow in this movie.
Oh my God, this stunt is still one of my favorite gags. Now, here's something ironic. He's not scared of snakes in real life, but he's terrified of spiders, which is why they shot this way. When he goes to wipe them off Molina, he turns, and that was on purpose because he couldn't do it.
Yeah, and this is a perfect example of just supernatural. How does this light apparatus even work? It doesn't. It only makes sense supernaturally.
I like that moment right there.
He was so young.
Catches him with the belt.
And he hugs him and he pulls him off of him. Get off me.
I showed this
over later.
I was watching this with my daughter last night and said, "Hey, that's Dr. Octopus." I said, "No way." Yes, he is.
Is this playing fast? Because it seems like it's going fast.
No,
It's really weird. Now, I did something interesting here. I actually put the subtitles on the slideshow.
That's good.
So that you'll see them fade in and fade out differently than the images. Because when I did it, I scheduled, I read the time on it, and I did the titles, and they seem to line up perfectly. Something
In
I've
our
never done
case
before.
in our case, think about the character in this. I mean, what do we really know or find out about Indy's backstory outside of him being involved with the one girl who's important to the story?
Well, this is the problem is too often people focus on that backstory, and it's it's not important. What's important is who they are now. When certain TV shows of the past were done a certain way, the way that the creator created them was to focus on who they were at the moment that you're watching them. the backstory can come out later, but it's not important to who they are.
Well, and Indy's backstory isn't even that important. I mean, we just need to know who he is, and that is
Exactly.
he's this history teacher who literally moonlights as an archaeologist, right? Like,
adventurer.
Or is it the other way around? You know, it's kind of a Batman thing, you know?
Yeah, the real Indiana Jones is when he's in the field. When he's in college, that's the fake version. Exactly.
Yeah, he even has an alter ego because, you know, Henry is his Bruce Wayne.
Yep.
Well, and this is probably a good time to talk about the inspiration for Indiana Jones for the very few people who don't know about it.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Well, of course, Spielberg at the time wanted to do a Bond film, but
that's right.
He wasn't Steven Spielberg quite yet, and they weren't exactly offering him a Bond film.
Because it wasn't.
And George is like, yeah, and George is like, I got something that's better than that.
Oh, you're here. Oh, you're here. Am I removing one?
Yeah, we're going to kill that other one. Here's my good one.
Woo. Hey,
can you hear me? Let me turn this other one off here. Sorry about that.
No problem.
So George is like, I got something that's better than that, you know, and he had come up with this character that is basically like, you know, this, what's the name I'm thinking of, the old serials, was Alan Quartermain or whatever kind of a guy. Yeah. So, you know, that kind of basic like serials kind of character, you know, out of the 30s and 40s films. And yeah, I mean, it is. It's really kind of a James Bond meets a little bit of Batman in there with the whole double identity kind of thing, almost to a point, mixed with a little Robin Hood to sorts, and James Bond, you know, with it into the mix, and boom, you got Indiana Jones. I mean, it's crazy, and I mean, it's almost even crazier that Harrison Ford almost didn't play the part. I know most people know this too, but I mean,
Tom Selleck, yeah.
Tom Selleck was very, very much going to get the role.
In fact, it was already his, and CBS wouldn't let him go.
Yeah, well, they had decided that, because he had done a pilot that
previous. It's the same thing that happened to Pierce Brosnan.
Yep, he had done a pilot the previous year, and basically you're right. It's the same thing that happened to Pierce with 007. He got the part, and then the network's like, yeah, we're gonna take that to that show to air. So now you're stuck in a contract. Sorry, can't do it. You know.
And anybody who's ever seen the tests, I got to tell you, I loved it. And of course, Tom Selleck needed to make his Indiana Jones film, so he made High Road to China and Lassiter. Both films are, in my opinion, his attempts to do his own Indiana Jones style character.
Yeah. Tom,
we have a super chat.
There's an actual transcript of the story conference.
He doesn't care, Martin. Stop trying to get him to care.
There's a what?
There's a transcript.
Super chat. There's a super chat. He says, and Shinovsky just goes, fuck you, I'm talking.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, dude, I'm just playing around. Christian Delorme with a Canadian $20. What is that, like $5 in America? It's communist dollars. Thank you so much, Christian. You're a good friend, man. Bonjour, everyone. I don't know what the fuck the word is. Celebrating Canada Day. That's right. Love and cheers. PBS, Pabst Blue Ribbon, and I don't know what that is. Old Milwaukee.
Old Milwaukee.
I think he's drunk writing. Because he'll do that, dude. He will get like drunk and just. I feel like a stripper. He's just throwing money at the show. Stripper money. Take more off.
Give the man his video.
I will give him something here. I don't have any Raiders videos, sadly. I was up all night doing this, so I don't know what to play for him. We're in the wrong studio.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
Snakes. There you go. That's his video. Tom doing Indiana Jones. There you go.
To kill you. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
What are you?
I'm Bad
Tom.
Bad Tom.
But I have the exact quote from the story conference they were doing when they were brainstorming this.
This is one of my favorite moments with Raiders because, again, this falls under the whole auspices of Batman Bruce Wayne, what you brought up a minute ago, because Indy, when he's in this guise, almost seems almost buffoonish at moments.
Well, it's a little Bondish, too, here in the scene. But what were you about to say? I think it was Shinatsky.
To quote George Lucas, this is from the story conference they did. They were actually recording as they were brainstorming all this. It's a spaghetti western, only it takes place in the 30s, or it's James Bond and it takes place in the 30s. Except James Bond tends to get a little more outrageous at times, so we're going to take the unrealistic side off it and make it more like the Clint Eastwood westerns. Thing is, we want to make a very believable character. We want him to be extremely good at what he does, as in the Clint Eastwood character, the James Bond character. James Bond and the Man with No Name were very good at what they do. They were very fast with a gun. They were very slick. They were very professional. They were Superman. And then Spielberg goes, like Mifune? Yes, like Mifune.
Now, does anybody recognize that guy to the left there?
I know I've seen him.
I know that I've seen him.
He is also in Star Wars, A New Hope, the first film.
Yeah, he was one of the Imperial officers.
Nope, he was one of the X-Wing pilots.
Oh.
Porkins?
Bingo. You'll see every once in a while actors in Harrison Ford films back in the late 70s and 80s. You'll go, wait, I recognize it. Star Wars.
Hey, boss, we have.
In fact, there's a guy that's a soldier, a commando, in Force 10 from Navarone, who is one of the X-Wing pilots too. What'd you say? Yeah, $6.69 Canadian stripper money. And as a proud military dad, my boy is getting promoted to corporal. Outstanding. Man, I'm proud for you, buddy. And also, Tom, by the way, this is one of my proudest things. I did a portrait of him and his son that hangs in his son's barracks. Are you here, Tom? Oh, I wasn't sure if you're getting the
okay. Christian, this is a special video for you.
Ma, I'm doing a show.
There you go.
And we have just another super chat from Christian.
What is it with the 669? Is that a subtle statement about something? I don't know. Christian freaks me out.
That's probably because he set it up to do $5 American, and that's what it is in Canadian dollars.
Oh, gotcha. I understand. And Gerry, PBS makes me want to treat you like last call stripper. Love from Canada.
Don't encourage him, Christian, please.
Christian's awesome.
Wait till they get a load of me.
They get a load of me. I love Joker. All right, thank you, sir, so much. Yep, there's Porkins from Star Wars.
It's also a really impressive little bit of exposition because instead of just saying things, they're literally having them go out, do things, or he goes, grabs the book. I mean, this could have been very dry if they didn't do it this way.
And the way he shot this, the book is constantly in the shot.
Yep. Sets it up, pays it off in the scene.
And I love the illustrations in this too. I just, it really looked like something from old text. Too often in movies, they'll show illustrations that don't look from the period. That looks like it was from the period when it was printed.
And I also hold that as like another little mini supernatural thing that Indiana Jones is being constantly helped. He literally goes right to the page. He just opens the book. It's right on the exact page he needs.
By the way, that car right there, it doesn't have a trunk. That's actually a seat behind it.
Yeah, a rumble seat.
Rumble seat. I love those cars, man. What eventually would become a trunk back then was additional seats if you had guests. But they were outside the car. They weren't inside. It was raining. I don't know about you guys. I'd like to talk about Tom Selleck because I'm a big Tom Selleck fan. But I absolutely do not think the film would have gone over the same as it did with Harrison Ford. By the way, in the book and in the original script, which the novelization was based on, by Campbell Black. He had the student with the "I love you" was in the other room during a scene. They'd been shagging, which is why he's in a robe, but he's not soaking wet from a shower. And he was hiding her during the scene, and it was taken out because it wasn't necessary. They felt it made Indy look a little too dirty.
They were right. That was a good call.
Especially with the subject matter that they're talking about, because he begins to speak very much about powers you don't understand. And then, Indy delivers that, Harrison delivers that great line, well, what a cautious guy I am. Throws the pistol.
Yeah.
And I love the weight, because you can hear the weight of that Webley when it hits the suitcase, lands inside. I love the gravity sounds.
Hey, Brian's in the house.
Hey, Brian. I love the heavy sounds of the gunfire, the punches. Yes. There's a bass to it. This was great because they could not find an actual clipper for the full shot. So they had to do several things, including that, which was a matte shot. And then they had an actual clipper here for this shot. But everything else they had to do through Industrial Light and Magic.
Well, talking about the sound effects, that is a good point, because they clearly were trying to emulate the bombastic. Yeah, of course. But I mean, I'm saying they were trying to emulate the bombastic sound effects of the 40s serials and stuff like that. Yeah.
With the heavy guns sounded so real. I loved it because there's a scene in the making of, I'm sure you've seen it, where in the bar scene, you can see Steven Spielberg with a submachine gun in his hand, firing it into the air for the background sound. I love that. And this is a great shot, by the way. I love this shot.
Have a breach by Bush.
They're in church. The feds had to come in through the back door.
Okay, so are we going to address the fact that so many people think that this movie would be the same if Indiana Jones wasn't even there?
Oh, no.
I hate that argument.
Stupid. It's a stupid argument.
If Indiana Jones wasn't there,
nobody would watch it.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. But the Americans wouldn't have got the Ark.
And not just that, they wouldn't even have found it in the first place. And I know a lot of people argue that. It's like, no. They'd have been digging for years before they would have figured out they were digging in the wrong spots.
Yeah, you've seen that video. You've seen the video then.
I think it's complete and utter bullshit, because the Nazis follow him to Marion. She has the amulet. They only have half the amulet even still after they find her and him. He has the other half, and he figures out exactly where it is. They would have been digging for God knows how long by the time Indy and them guys would have found the Ark already.
The war would have been over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a dumb
This whole
argument.
idea that Indiana Jones has nothing to do, plays no part in this, is a bunch of horse crap. Because they don't even know where the amulet is until that's why they're doing. They set him up. It's like, if you think about it, it's the stupidest thing ever I've ever heard, that Indiana Jones doesn't even play a part in his own story. It's like, what?
No, you apparently do the same thing I do. We look for those film theorists that out there, the Stanley Kubrick guys.
Well, sometimes they're right. I mean, sometimes something can be overlooked, but
they're so full of shit on this one. This film is not the same without Indiana Jones, because they would have never found Marion Ravenwood.
Yep.
And
another shadow.
He was
another
required
shadow
for
introduction.
That. Raiders, indeed, my number one Indiana Jones movie. By the way, I do want to get into the chat. Let's look in some of these comments that were made. I started some. First of all, I do want to thank our good friend, mutual good friend, Tom, Zach, he didn't just become a member. He's a
YouTube maniac. Zach.
Oh, Zach is the shit. I fucking love Kyle. Let's see. We got Slasher Fred. I noticed that Temple of Doom is the only film in the series that does not show Indiana Jones' part-time job as a college professor.
That's true. I never thought of that.
It's more of a Bond film because he's in
very much, yes.
He's dressed in the tuxedo, very Sean Connery looking, because that's the tuxedo Sean Connery wore in one of the first Bond films, done intentionally. So we never see Indiana Jones shaved and in school.
but it's very much still in the vein of a lot of those serials from that time, and I think that's one thing that a lot of critics really overlook of this movie. Is like, yeah, you had the adventure stories where you would go in and you would get, whatever golden ark thingy or whatever it was you were looking for, but you also had the dungeon stories. People forgot about that, right? And that's what Temple of Doom is paying homage to, is those dungeon stories where you get deep down into the dungeons, and there's always some secret cult or whatever. They're there. It's straight out of those things. It's not like they're making shit up. Now, is it a little darker than the first film? Absolutely. Was Spielberg and George both going through divorces and weird shit in their lives? Yes.
And that is really, a lot of people don't know that filmmakers and actors are absolutely affected by their personal life.
Oh, clearly they are. And I mean, then you can go to the opposite end of the spectrum, because, we talked about with, Last Crusade. Clearly, Spielberg was putting his stamp. I'm done on this. He's literally riding off to the sunset. He literally found the Holy Grail. Where can you go from there?
Where do you go from finding?
He has checked out he's on the completely other end of the spectrum when it comes to Crystal Skull. Steven Spielberg is barely even there. Like, you guys have all seen Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, I'm assuming.
Yes.
You know the scene where they show Good Will Hunting 2 and they're like, Gus, are you going to direct this movie? And he's like, Ben, I'm busy. And he's counting the money. That's Steven Spielberg during the making of Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
He's somewhere else counting his money, doing whatever, while everybody else is making Crystal Skull. And, the passion was gone. I mean, the only person who had any passion was George. And sadly, George is such a chaotic, creative mess sometimes that you need somebody like Spielberg to be able to funnel that through. Right? Like he's all this big ball of creative energy, and it's like you need this conduit to put that into a way that the normal world can consume that. And George Lucas and Steven Spielberg were like it was like yin and yang, a perfect. You couldn't have thought of a more perfect team of these guys who could come up with the creative, and not only the creative, but also show you how to present it to an audience and make them engaged. Because nobody can engage you like Steven Spielberg does. There's only a few directors I can compare in that way. Spielberg is on par with like Kubrick, Scorsese, and Tarantino in how they can get you sucked into their movies within the first 3 minutes.
Absolutely.
Like, I give everybody like 15 minutes when I'm watching a movie. It's like, if you can't get me interested in the first 15 minutes, I'm checking out. There's not one Spielberg, Scorsese, Tarantino, or Kubrick movie where I can't say I was sitting there just enthralled with it from the first few minutes. Even the worst of Spielberg's movies, you end up watching the whole thing all the way through because he still has those little elements that pull you in. Hitchcock is another great example of that too.
Well, he's the one who established a lot of the filmmaking that was followed by guys like Lucas, Spielberg, Coppola, all of them. Followed what
yes, and Coppola's another great example, and George knows how to do it too. I'm not trying to single George out, but I think
he's not as good a director as he is.
He's on the spectrum, possibly. I mean, we've talked about this in other ways before too. So I think that sometimes his focus gets very disoriented, and that's where things kind of get jumbled.
He is clearly on the spectrum because he has trouble with actors. He doesn't want to work with them. He's not an actor's director. He is
as Carrie Fisher said on Star Wars, he lost his voice for about a week and a half and nobody noticed.
Yeah, nobody noticed. But I want to tell you, this is absolutely right here. I paused it here because this is my favorite shot in the entire film. Just the lighting on it, everything. It's such a beautifully lined up and lit shot with Tote and the burning, heated up iron about to torture Marion.
Great scene.
Just the sweat, everything in the
what's that actor's name again? I can't remember, but he is
Ronald
just
Lacey.
Brilliantly casted too. And didn't he die quite young? I can't remember now.
He died back in the 90s. Actually, we lost Denholm Elliott in the 90s too to HIV, which he got it from a blood transfusion. There are several actors that died in the 90s from full-blown AIDS that got it through blood transfusions. Anyway, Well, Clay Collison says that I should be introduced to Liberace, and I don't know what that means, Clay.
I was just going to say, I'm not so sure they were all blood transfusions necessarily, but hey, we're not going to get into that aspect of it all.
Yeah, it's their private thing. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, look, I've told people this before. I have no problems with gay people in movies. Hell, everything we've been watching in movies has been gay for the last 100 years. Who do you think makes this stuff?
I know, right? This is such a great action scene. I really do love this scene. The sound, I'm telling you, Burt.
Well, Ben Burt, and I mean,
the greatest sound guy in
talk about something that's definitely missing from the new Star Wars films and the new Indiana Jones. Ben Burt's little touch. I mean, he's clearly one of the best sound designers in history. Exactly.
Yeah, you and I are simpatico on a lot of this shit, Tom. I love this shot where he goes and he grabs the thing and it burns his hand. This is a great moment right there. That look.
This is another thing people don't talk about. If you pay attention, there's a lot of slapstick for the Nazi deaths when you really break them down.
Yahtzees? Yes, Yahtzees.
Yeah, well, and this is kind of, cathartic or therapeutic for, I'm sure, a lot of these guys. I mean, these guys are next generation right out of this stuff. Spielberg and stuff, I'm sure, has heard a lot of these horror stories and stuff, and had some familial connections to some of this stuff. So, and this is, we were starting to see movies, because usually if you saw Nazis in a movie or Yahtzees in a movie, it was usually like a B movie or something like that, so this is kind of the first time we've really seen them in a while, I think, unless somebody remind me if there was another movie around this time where, they brought them out as bad guys, but yeah. It was
and this nice is a great nod to classic.
Otherwise, it was a lot. Usually, the Russians.
The flying scenes with the maps and the red line. That's another throwback to the classic serials.
Oh, directly out of those because it's a cheap, easy way of showing traveling. Yep.
Anyway, what do you want to do tonight, Kathleen? The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to destroy a franchise. She's successfully destroyed all of them now. She's done it.
Pretty much. Well, and going back to what you guys were saying earlier, is like Indiana Jones is a little different than Star Wars, and this is where it may be her undoing because, I mean, Star Wars wasn't really her thing. She's been a part of Indiana Jones from the start, and for her to snafu this up so bad, that's not good.
It's bad on her legacy, and it will look bad on her.
Well, in a lot of ways, monetarily.
It's the one thing in her wheelhouse that she had good credit with fans with.
It's the shame about all this because it taints the entire legacy of the whole series. Like, the opposite of love is not hate, it's apathy. And I think we've finally gotten to the point where we're just going to have apathy about any future Indiana Jones.
Well, Tom knows because we talked privately, and I told everybody, you, Andre, everybody back in December, I am now apathetic when it comes to Marvel and DC. I just fucking don't care anymore. Only thing left I care about is the shit that I love, the classic movies like this one. And they haven't ruined it for me, Shanatsky. I will still go back and watch this movie and love it. She cannot take that from me. But she has absolutely done damage to the franchises, all of them. Anything she has touched, she has tainted. Possibly with her taint. I don't know. Don't you duck your head, John. Fuck you.
Tom, you remember in Glorious Bastards when the cinema goes, "This is the face of Jewish vengeance"? I think that entire scene's wrong. This entire movie is the face of Jewish vengeance.
Oh, that's a good.
Oh yeah, there's that aspect to it. I mean, not to throw a woke blanket on it, but that's a good way of doing this kind of stuff where it works in the context of a movie and it doesn't really take you out of it, right? Like, I'm sure that, like Spielberg and some of these guys, this was a big release of,
It's also kind of interesting to consider.
By the way, that's Terry Leonard playing the German here, the crowd. The one in the foreground, not the one in the background. Terry Leonard is Harrison Ford's stand-in, stunt double.
I love how Germans are still the only ones we can use a derogatory term for. Anyway, sorry, Shanatsky. Everybody keeps interrupting you.
No, it's also really interesting to think that all the prime antagonists don't belong to the actual party that is the, foot soldiers. It, like, almost being involved with them and doing nothing to stop them is almost worse than being a member of them.
Yeah, because the U.S. government really isn't involved yet.
No, in the 30s, no, we were not. We were aiding Great Britain, and that's really all we were doing in their efforts, as well as China. We had a lot of warriors in China fighting against the Imperial Air Force. But I want to get back to these comments. We got some starred comments. Slasher Fred, I read that before Harrison Ford was casting Indiana Jones, Tom Selleck, who still had his TV show, Magnum P.I., was originally, yes, that was something that Tom and I brought up.
Yep. And you can actually see a screen test out there, I believe.
Yes, it is. With Karen Allen, right? I think it's with Karen Allen.
I think so.
Yeah. Tom is broadcasting from the toilet. That was from
I was before. No, actually, I was eating my lunch.
Oh, hi, Tom. Yeah, of course. Hello. I still don't understand Clay's comment about I need to be introduced to Liberace. I know who Liberace is.
No, he's connected to Liberace because you said you're 6 degrees of separation from anybody. So he said to connect you to Liberace.
Yeah, you could probably connect that. Well, okay. No, I could do it, but I'm not going to do it here. Deep fake CGI Indiana Jones looked bad to me. It looked bad to a lot of people, my friend. It still looked better than some of the other shit they did, but no, it still didn't look right. It looked like it's absolutely, Tom, I think you agree with me. It looks like a cutscene from a video game.
Yep.
Yeah.
With everything that's around it, everything that's into it, like only a few shots in this movie actually looked like they were shot in natural light or actual locations. And I mean, we saw some of the images of those.
Yep.
Like otherwise, the rest of this feels like it's shot on a stage.
Now, I will point out that a good example of strong females in film are Marion, as well as, I forget her character's name, but Alison Doody in the Irish girl that plays the Austrian in The Last Crusade.
Dr. Elsa.
The Yahtzee chick?
Yeah, she's actually Irish. Her name is Alison Doody. Doody. It's her real name. And,
Duty.
She's a great character. I really liked her character. Giggled like a little squirrel.
Well, it was a nice change of pace, right? Like, and I mean, that's the thing with all the first few indie movies. You get a different, girl or woman counterpart for each one.
Well, agreed. And by the way, Bush told a story, had well-written, compelling characters and believable action set pieces, and it was structured well. The problem with this new film is it lacks any structure. It lacks an actual story. The plots aren't as important as story. Story is essential. You can't have a good film without a good story.
Well, like I was saying earlier, the movie is driven completely by the MacGuffin.
Yeah,
and these earlier films are not, right? They're like Indy's issue here is dealing with partially he's looking for the arc and all that kind of stuff, but he's dealing with Marion. He's dealing with politics. He's dealing with, the Nazis. He's dealing with all these other things going on at the same time. And it's not just because of the arc. He's got these other things that are already going into it. Like, especially Marion's, their relationship is almost like one of the key components of this film, right? I mean, and she is probably one of his best counterparts in all of these movies, and then you get to Temple of Doom. Like it's being, it starts out. It's not even the it's that stone that they're after, the diamond, and that's just an ancillary MacGuffin. And then by the time the story gets rolling, the MacGuffin isn't even all that important, right? It's the least important. By that point, they're going in to save the children. It has very little to do with the MacGuffin.
That's the story. And by the way, I do want to say this, Slasher Fred, the opening sequence of Last Crusade with him as a kid is one of my favorite openings for a film because
I love Last Crusade, but the only issue I have with Last Crusade is there's a lot of it that feels like it's Raiders redo.
Well, yeah, and that's what they were doing. They were going for that feel, and I don't know if that's a bad thing. No,
it's fine for what it is, but that's why I kind of like, and I kind of like with Temple of Doom, I will stick up for it more.
I mean, Temple of Doom, because I get what you're talking about. It really is in many ways a James Bond movie. It follows more of the formula of James Bond than any of the other two films, the first two films.
And Last Crusade is kind of a combo of that. If anything, I would say Last Crusade feels the most like a Bond movie by the time you're done with it, especially considering they got Sean Connery along for the ride.
Yeah, really, it does. I agree with you there. But I don't agree as far as structure goes. It's
perhaps
because I think that Doom feels structurally more like a Bond film, And the reason that a lot of people don't even catch this, that Indiana Jones always starts with a story that's already been told, and we're catching the tail end of it. And then the new story gets started moving into the film. And that's actually taken straight from James Bond. That every James Bond film, we meet James Bond in a previous story where he's doing something else that's going to lead into the new story. Every movie. It's done.
Real quick, character-wise with it, the conversation they had with Belloc is kind of really interesting for his development, because in essence, Belloc is kind of ahead of Indy in his actual belief with it, because he actually believes he can talk to God, but Indy doesn't. So Indy actually does become a little bit more like him by the time we get to the end of it, but he doesn't go, he goes in the opposite direction.
Yeah. By the way, we got to go to commercial break here. Before we do, I don't think that is a kid. I never have since I saw it in the theater. That is what is referred to as an actual midget. That is a proportionate.
You know who that is, don't you?
No.
That's Deep Roy.
Get the fuck out
That's
of here.
fucking
Really?
Deep Roy. You can't tell. You didn't know that? Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's Deep Roy.
Really? Was he a kid?
He's little, but he's young. It's Deep Roy.
Because he doesn't look like a kid to me. That looks like an adult face.
It's because he is.
Okay, there we go. All right.
I mean, he was probably a teenager or a young adult by this point, but yeah.
That's crazy, dude. I didn't
I'm
know.
pretty fucking sure that was him.
All these years. Holy shit. I just learned something. I didn't.
He pops up everywhere. I'm surprised where I see him all. Deep Roy's probably been in more movies than we all realize. I don't even know if there's stuff that he's been in that he's not even credited in, probably.
That's crazy, dude. Martin, you got the cue up for the commercial break?
He's played a kid thing in so many movies.
Martin?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, you ready? All right, guys, we're going to take a commercial break. We'll be right back after this.
Hi guys, this is Gerry from Pop Culture Minefield here on KGRA, and we're leaving for our first break. I hope we survive.
Did you know 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated? If you struggle with focus, run low on energy, or when it's time to finally sleep, you simply can't, this can all be linked to dehydration, and Fuel Up has the answer. Our proprietary formula contains the finest cellular hydration with the strongest immune-enhancing natural ingredients. The Fuel Up system is made up of 3 different incredibly tasting varieties. Wake kickstarts your day with a jolt of caffeine. Play boosts focus while hydrating your cells. Rest not only helps you relax, but also rejuvenates your cells while you sleep. Here's what our clients have to say.
I really don't miss my coffee, and you can tell the difference.
So I'm going to take it for the energy. I'm going to take it for the play. I'm going to take it, all day.
And it works. That's the thing. It works. We love it.
Take the Fuel Up Challenge now, where we offer a Feel the Difference money-back guarantee. Fuel Up for life.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Oh wow, we survived. Welcome back to the commercial break. Now for some more Pop Culture Minefield on KGRA.
Polly. And of course, I miss Bill right now. We're not. Sadly, this weekend we're not broadcasting on KGRA because I don't know how to set it up with him. Polly is here. Yeah, Gerry is a midget backdoor.
I can't find it in his repertoire, but it comes up when you type it in. But it's really weird. So I think he might be uncredited in this. I'm not 100% sure, but he was born in 1949.
Usually on IMDb they list.
Yeah, it's not though. It's not listed here, but it says Indiana Jones when you put up his name though.
By the way, I wanted to tell you something.
And he was in Return of the Jedi and a bunch of other shit uncredited too.
Really?
Yeah.
He's in ROD. Oh.
He also played Yoda uncredited. Okay. So I'm sure he's the walking scene, I believe. Now. Yeah, if I remember right, he's the one who does the walking bit when you see Yoda walking from behind.
That's him?
I think so.
Oh my god. I never knew this.
Unless that's not him there, but it sure does look like him.
Oh, wow.
If it's not, it's someone that looks very much like him.
That's crazy. By the way, we've got some more start comments I want to go over. Harrison Ford has been stoned out of his mind for the last 30 years. Let's see. I think that Richard Donner must have been fascinated with Ki Kwan's performance as Short Round. All I know is I like that kid. He was good in Goonies. And I'm glad to see him getting a resurgence. Frank Marshall, Congo. I always feel bad for Frank Marshall because he sleeps with Kathleen Kennedy. What a horrible, horrible existence.
Sleeps with the fishes.
Let's see. The opening scene in Raiders is such a classic scene with the huge boulder chasing after him. Absolutely great moment. Probably one of the most memorable action scenes in cinema history. Christian Jalorm with his $20 is still, thank you very much, my friend. Slasher Fred says, I've noticed how the original Aladdin kind of pays an homage to the movie, especially the scene where the Cave of Wonders begins caving in. I like the way he used cave and caving in. Let's see. If you guys ever see the original Lara Croft Tomb Raider, that movie is like a female version of Indiana Jones. It is. I've seen it.
Yeah. The original Tomb Raider game, the team literally their entire MO was make a game out of the first 15 minutes of Raiders of the Lost Ark. So go into a place, nearly get killed by a boulder, dodge traps, fight, whatever.
And by the way, how old were you when you saw it the first time, Tom? Raiders. Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell mine. I was 16, and I went to a late showing of Manhunt with Lee Marvin and Charles Bronson, because when you bought your ticket for the late show, you could stay over and watch a midnight showing of Raiders of the Lost Ark. This is before it was released, officially released. And so we went to the RC Theater to see this. And it was one of my favorite moments because there was only like 12 people in the theater seeing this movie. And I remember I'd never seen anybody applaud in a movie or cheer ever in my life. And when he shoots the Arab with the sword, people stood up. The 12 people in the theater, other than us, stood up and applauded. That was an experience.
I first saw this movie on VHS because one of my first cinematic experiences, because I was born in like 84, so I was like 5 when Last Crusade came out. So it's like that and Batman were like two of the movies I first remember watching. So I think it was 91 or 92 on VHS. It's like, oh, there's other Indiana Jones movies. Let's rent these.
Interesting.
So I never saw it like cinematically until much later.
I always love this scene too. But there was an episode of Magnum PI where they spoofed Indiana Jones by Slasher Fred, and it's true. I remember that when he even wore the fedora. Let's see. Bush, they're in a church, and the feds had to come in through. Oh, that one. Why is that starred? Then let's see. Wrong. Okay, here we go. Wrong, John. 669 is my hard-earned Canadian money. You guys get 4.71 at 669 because I'm a dirty old man. Thanks, Yanks, for PBR in old Milwaukee. You bet, man. Love you, buddy.
Thanks for Canadian syrup.
He's got 2 more super chats in there.
I'm in there right now.
Okay.
Looking at him. Please say Happy Canada Day. I just did right there when I read it.
Happy Canada Day.
Not going to say it personally. Happy Canada Day. God bless our cousins to the north. And let's see. And a shout out to the lovely Penny. Yes, Penny is here. It's always good to see her. And let me get a video. Let's get a video. Boom.
By the way, this scene here is how you use lens flare. Learn from it, J.J. Abrams, please.
But as my plastic surgeon always said, if you gotta go, go with a smile.
Yeah, buddy. All right, great scene. Moving on. Yes, the lens flare on here, and it's a curved lens flare.
Yeah, because it has a purpose within the story. It's to emphasize how intense the light is, that it's even messing with the lens.
I love this moment where he thinks that Sala betrayed him. Left him. And then drops down his mock-up rope that has the Yahtzee flag on it. You want water? No problem, no problem. And then he ducks into the tent where Marion is. Happenstance.
Yeah.
Pure
I always
chance.
love John Rhys Davies in this movie. I mean, just him as an actor, period.
And by the way, who didn't love when Spielberg shit on Kathleen Kennedy recently when when he was talking?
Oh, that was glorious.
And he says, you know, these are the things that have made. And she thought she was going to be in there, and then the last one he mentions is John Williams music. Not her. I love it. She was not essential. By the way, I see Tom. You have something queued up. What is that? I don't know what it is. Did he message? Is there a private message?
It would have been even more dickish if he said 4 things and the last one he brought up was himself.
What's this? Oh, yeah. I love the artwork. Yeah, I see that. What you sent, Shinatsky.
One of the stuff I love about a lot of these movies is that they actually kept like records of what they were doing, what they were saying, like they even record their meetings. So we can actually look at them for later reference.
This guy on the left there, German actor, first time he worked with Harrison Ford was in Force 10 from Navarone. He was one of the Krauts that you see in the warehouse when they have to steal explosives. This is such a, oh man. Again, without Indiana Jones, they would have never figured this out. They would have never gotten here. They would have never even been digging in the desert without him.
And this is the type of stuff I miss from older filmmaking versus now. Nowadays, they would just go, just put a CG backdrop. No, they actually built that entire thing, and they had to plan out it being there, and then they shot it that way.
Exactly. And by the way, one of my favorite things about this film is a recent version that I've been trying to get a hold of is the Steven Soderbergh version of Raiders, which he completely releases it with no audio, but with a different music for the soundtrack and in black and white, because he wanted people to understand that this film, the way Spielberg shot it, they do not really appreciate how beautifully he shot this film. Him and his DP. This film works on, because black and white films were shot differently than color films. But this film is shot, it's in color, but it's shot with the principles used in shooting black and white. The way everything was lit. And so it's beautiful. If you watch it in black and white, it's you really begin to notice things. And Soderbergh did that, and I'm like, that was really good of him. I'm glad he did that. I'd like to see the full cut with his music, because he put his own soundtrack in there, Trent Reznor and other shit like that.
Yeah.
Because he wanted you to focus on the visuals.
And don't get me wrong, I love a lot of the dialogue in this movie. Hell, I'm a writer. But this movie can pretty much work almost entirely without dialogue.
6 is here, by the way, too. Who all is here?
Yeah. Sax, who's breaching the back door.
Hey, Zax, what is here? Ptolemy's Minions is here. Monkey Jeebus, Soul Assassin, Penny. Let's see. Scribe Light is here. Tim is here. Tim. Lord Thoth, That 70s Rock, and of course, Brian. Dadman Walking. I'm going to be on his channel on, I think, the 22nd. I'm going to guest over on his channel. Donnie Pearson. Vinkman's Girl is here. Of course, the Lovely Six is here. Brandon, the anime guy, my good buddy. Latino Slant. How the fuck do I say that name? SFX Fit. I can't even. It's too many letters. And print is small. I'm not going to read that name, Martin.
So is SFX F314 Sabertooth Raptor.
Sabertooth Raptor. Okay, Raptor. We'll call you Raptor. And of course, our good friend Kyle is here. It's Deep Roy as Yoda. Okay, so Tom, are you back?
Yeah, I've been here.
Oh, I didn't know you were back.
Well, I said it in the back. I was like, this is
yeah, I just saw that. So okay, here, pause. Let's pause this and show this right here. Ah, holy crap! Look at that.
Yep.
That's cool and kind of creepy. It's like a decapitated Yoda.
Yeah, right. But I just thought I'd share that quick.
Very cool. Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
The infamous pit scene. This leads to when he drops, and a lot of people in the original cut, until they cleaned it up later, digitally, you could see his reflection here. This is the cleaned up version. You could see Harrison's reflection on the glass. That there was a glass wall between him and that Cobra.
Yeah.
I don't entirely know if stuff like that should be cleaned up. Like, you know, I'm a big thing about even the mistakes should be preserved because it's what the movie was when it came out.
I'm the opposite. Like there's a scene in Blade Runner where they're doing a dolly shot and you can clearly see the entire film crew's shadow on Harrison Ford and the wall. And it's really distracting. And if you can take out stuff like that, do it. Because it's distracting. You don't want anything to distract you from the story. It pulls you out of the film.
Yeah,
and that's why I don't agree with you.
I just found it. Yeah, it is Deep Roy in the movie. I found it. He's uncredited, but it is him. And I'm surprised IMDb hasn't picked it up.
And that is Roy Strange. And by the way, a little story about IMDb. So back in 1995, I was running the second biggest Blade Runner fan site on the internet, not the first. And the guy that ran the number one Blade Runner website, he'd been there since 94, shut his website down. He emailed me. He was an Australian. He emailed me and said, the world of Blade Runner is yours. I'm going to go work on a new website called the Internet Movie Database.
Actually, I'm wrong. Take that back. It's a different actor, but it looks just like him, I guess. I don't know. I got conflicting results here.
By the way, in the theater, when I saw this movie, every single time I saw this in the theater, the split was always right in that scene with the lightning when they were working with the Ark there. And it's really noticeable when they switch projectors. And it's always bothered me. So when I finally saw this on video, it was so different than the way I saw it in the theater because of the projectionists. And they kind of intrude on you a little bit sometimes.
It's such a good bit of misdirection because it's set up that she's going to outdrink him and then realizes he's a wino and just completely nearly screwed herself because she's too drunk to get away. And it's like, what is this evil contraption of torture, death, and destruction?
Well, we put the subtitles in it so everybody can know what's going on in the scene. What shall we talk about? I love that.
Yeah.
In the Temple of Doom, one of the most famous scenes is when Indy and Willie Scott are trying to deny each other sexual attraction to each other until they... Yeah, that was a throwback to the classic romantic comedy adventure films of the 40s. as well as the 30s, but it was more popular in the 40s.
There you
Tom
go.
hates Indian midgets.
and the arc
Wrong. I love all midgets.
We must kill all midgets. That is our goal at Pop Culture Minefield.
You know, our theme song is Short People by Randy Newman.
They got little hands, little eyes, walk around telling great big lies.
Don't want no short people.
I think he did actually get in trouble for that song.
He did. There was a lot of heat on him over that song, and it made me love the song even more. The video premiered on Saturday Night Live. They premiered it on Saturday Night Live. I thought that was interesting. Way back in the day. It was like a little film. And I really like the way they did that shot because it's a mixture of actual shot and part matte painting. And it was done very well. And of course, Belloc feels bad that Marion is going to be thrown down there. It is not to be, Sherry.
It's the character mirroring. They both want the same woman.
Son of a bitch. Indiana Jones overrated, in my opinion. You were in the wrong lobby. Oh, man.
Or just even other things with this, like the way he gets out of there, that the statue just happens to break the right wall. That's another bit of like, God's helping him.
Well, he's looking and he sees there are holes and snakes coming through. So he knows that it's hollow behind that wall. Again, part matte painting, I love the way they did that. They didn't have to do that. I'm wondering, I've always wondered, Tom, if that was a pickup shot. A Belloc.
Could have been.
Because it's so weird, because they had the location and everything, but they ended up doing that shot with a matte.
Oh, and this
I'm sure back then there had to be a reason.
C-3PO and R2-D2.
Pop Culture Minefield has two midgets to deal with. We're not going anywhere.
Who's the other midget?
Most probably she's referring to me at 5'7".
Yeah, you're the same height as my son Ben. I have never watched that show, Six. I've never watched it, and I've heard a lot of people say I should watch it. It's good.
It was like a TV version of Indiana Jones mixed with, I don't know.
Oh, Chanel.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Shanatsky. Say it again.
Oh, it's in the Librarians was like basically Indiana Jones mixed with like Warehouse 13, in that they basically guard all the relics.
Well, that's what Warehouse 13 was inspired by, was the end of Indiana Jones.
Yeah. And by the way, Six, Keith is 6'4" and I'm 6'3".
So you're the angry midget?
I'm the dwarf to Keith.
Yep. We're all midgets to Keith.
I am not 6'2". Christian DeLorme, $10. Sorry to Tom and company to derail the stream. First, we are having a party up here with American beer. God bless America. And Gerry, you're a keeper after 8 beers. Long live Canada and my American cousin. Amen, my friend. We love you.
Canada Day.
Yeah, happy Canada Day.
Isn't that what you say on Canada Day?
Hey, take off, you hoser.
Oh, Canada. I don't remember the rest.
Thank God.
Thank God. I am going to switch studios just for a second because I want to play a video because Kyle is here and it bugs me that I haven't played it for him. Because Kyle is here, and I always want to play this video for him. There we go.
Hey, fuck you, Kyle.
And this one is for Christian.
Prime laps with your 4 wins.
Yeah, I'm.
This is such a great. Oh, I love this fight scene. He does not want to fight this Germany, and that's the same actor that's in all of the Indiana Jones films that he has to fight. He plays one of the Sikh guards that he has to fight with the conveyor belt scene in Doom. And I can't remember what he is. He's a German again in Last Crusade. We lost him just a few years ago, didn't we? I think he died in the 2010s.
I really appreciate the casual brutality in this movie. And think about this. Marion just casually murders like 4 people like it's nothing. And she's happy about it too.
Oh, Polly, you're 6'2"? Awesome, dude. And Andy Morrow says treason.
Well, yes, you bloody loyalists up in Canada.
So it's treason then.
It's tree sons.
And he almost got crushed doing this. Harrison did. He slipped in the dirt and his leg slid under the wheel section. It rolled up his thigh. And they stopped it just in time. Because these things are heavy. The same thing with the boulder scene. The boulder was like 200 pounds, I think, 300 pounds, something like that. And fuck, man. He's not a stunt man. He doesn't do stunts. He does action, as he says. I like. He's an actor.
Look what Brian says here.
What did he say? When I holiday in Mexico, we refer to America as flyover country.
I'm surprised you were sober enough to say that.
There's no Mexicans over 6 foot. I've been there.
Oh, yes.
Times.
Oh, yes, there are.
I've met quite a few.
Well, see, there's also, you guys aren't taken into consideration in Mexican math. 6 foot is actually more like 4'9".
Yeah, it's the number conversions. Like our money's worth more than yours, so
There is a flap scene in this when you see Indy and Marion come out of the hole in that wall. When it cuts back to a different angle, you can see an unconscious man next to the hole, because there was a scene where he knocked somebody out and they cut it. Math is racist.
Racist.
Well, it is.
Racist. I'm so sorry. I had no idea we had hired a racist.
And it's sexist because it's binary.
Yeah, how dare them.
Yeah, but Tom, by saying something's binary or not, it creates another binary. That's voiding the entire point of saying you're binary or non-binary.
That's not how the Force works.
In the truck scene, one of the most famous sound effects seen.
Yeah, and they just found that. Did you hear about that?
What's that?
The Wilhelm scream. They found the original one. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, they just did. Yeah.
Because it came from a World War II movie.
Something or other. I can't remember, but yeah. Hey, I just watched the video the other day.
There's Terry Leonard. You can clearly see him in HD. That is not Harrison Ford. And then we cut to Harrison Ford for the hero shot.
Did my Wilhelm scream play?
No.
Nope. Did not.
No.
I've got one though, if I can get mine.
And Star Wars, there it is. Yeah. Yep. Star Wars promised to retire it, that they weren't going to use it anymore. There's Terry Leonard again as the driver there.
I do think some traditions should stay around. Like if you feel like using it, by all means, just don't, expect to use it in every movie kind of deal.
No, and it's got to be well timed and placed.
It's just it's an inside joke for sound effects people, basically.
Oh, by the way, do you remember at the beginning of the movie when Jock is trying to start the plane
Yeah.
So they can escape. And the plane doesn't start. It's the same sound that the Millennium Falcon does when the
Yes.
hyperdrive folds.
That's right. That is right. By the way, that's Pat Roach. He's an English actor, British actor, I should say. Giant human being, bodybuilder. And he's the one who played the German under the plane that fights him, the bald guy. And he also plays the Sikh guard in Temple of Doom. And I can't remember. He's in Last Crusade. I just can't remember who he plays. He's in all 3 of the Indiana Jones films. Well, the original trilogy. The only trilogy. But I do think it's funny that you see Terry Leonard ride the horse down, stuntman, and then we cut to an angle when Harrison jumps into the truck to punch the driver, and the driver's Terry Leonard. Same guy.
He went to punch himself. What can we say?
Yeah, Pat Roach was a giant. And I'm going to check. I think he died in the last decade, it seems. He died in 2004, so I was wrong. He died in the 2000s. I just remember reading it when he died. I was like, oh, man, that dude was awesome. Wrestler.
Well, him hanging behind the truck is a homage to, there was a famous horse film where the guy's hanging behind the stage.
Yakima Canute, the great stuntman, worked with John Wayne, did a lot of films for Ford, Weiler, classic stuntman. Came up through the silent years. And he is the one who did the scene in Stagecoach where he goes up underneath. That's what this gag is. It's the same gag that he did for Stagecoach, where he goes under the wagon train and horses. And here they had to dig a trench. You see that there's a little gully in the middle there, a valley, because he would have been pulled up into the axle if they hadn't dug that in. And then Harrison Ford did some of the drag behind stuff that was slower. They were doing like 40, I think, 30 or 40 with the scenes with Terry Leonard doing it. So Terry Leonard got to repeat a gag done by the great Yakima Canute.
Well, isn't the way they tended to do it is you'd film it and then you'd speed it up so it's just a little bit faster?
If you shoot things at a tight angle, things look faster. And that's what he did. He tried to shoot tighter shots to trick the eye into thinking things are going faster than they really are. I don't think they over or under cranked any of these. Not that I'm aware of. Tom, are you aware of that?
You can usually tell.
Yeah, you see it.
And in this movie, I know especially, like, they were really trying to do a lot of these stunts and all this kind of business in camera and in real time, because that was part of the selling point of this. See, like, Star Wars was sold on the thrill of the special effect, as to where Indy was sold on the thrill of the stunt.
The stunt, the action. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And the fact that there was real guys doing these things, and yeah.
It depresses me that the only person doing that now is like Tom Cruise and Keanu Reeves.
But look at how it works, though. It still works. I mean, there's something to it. I mean, even going back to like Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan, we were just talking about this over on the salty nerd thing about somebody had super chatted in about that getting sick of shaky cam in every fight scene. I'm like, yeah, I mean, at the time it was made to kind of hide, bad production value and or, the inability to film good choreography. Now even the bigger films have taken it on. Guys like Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee and such used to try and make sure that these films were shot in a way they would even work with the cinematographers and or be the directors themselves, just so they could know how it was going to be shot and make sure that you see them doing the stunt, right? See them doing the actual fighting and all that kind of stuff. Indiana Jones and a lot of these films like Mission Impossible are no different now, right? What is the thrill of the game that's bringing them into it? Well, Top Gun was a great example. That's what I was about to say anyway, right? People were kind of sold on the fact that, Tom Cruise is back in this, pretty popular franchise from the 80s, even though it was never really a franchise. But at the same time, he was doing it for real, right? Like 90% of that stuff was real. People wanted to see it. You know, who gives a shit about some CGI fest? You know, you come at most people and go, yeah, by the way, you can go watch Indiana Jones and Harrison Ford is young and they do it with a computer. Yeah, I know. Who cares? Right? Like my 3-year-old can do that on his phone.
Yeah.
With TikTok. Like you're not, and this is where I get upset with horror, right? I used to be a huge horror fan, but most horror movies nowadays, I don't care. Because there's nothing to them. There's no substance to them. There's not the wow factor there anymore.
Well, there's also a lack of
yeah.
something else that's essential in good visual storytelling, which is blocking and staging.
Well, that's a part of it. But what I mean is like what goes to like the whole what I'm talking about with Raiders of the Lost Ark and these kind of movies is like oh my God, I can't believe they did that, or how'd they do that? You don't get that anymore. Why? Because you know how they did that. And that's why I think stunt casting is about all they got left besides the few times they do real stunts like with Mission Impossible, is because who cares? It's all done on a computer.
This is another little great thing with just, showing off that the Ark is calling the shots.
It's the Force.
I'd compare the Ark, and I'm dead serious about this. It's like the One Ring, only it's a force for good instead of a malevolent evil. It literally wants to be found.
By the way, I just saw a film recently with that same actor that played Captain Katanga, and I was like, holy shit, Katanga!
Wasn't he the one Black Admiral guy in Star Trek as well?
No. That wasn't him. Believe me.
No.
Okay.
And you better believe, Martine.
Are we getting to the famous submarine scene where because of an editing snafu, everybody thinks that Indiana Jones rides on the submarine all the way through?
Well, in reality, they had shot it, but it's he had ridden on the periscope, and there's photos of it.
Well, didn't he actually get inside, too? Like, there was another deleted scene where he's inside, too, I think?
They should have done something, because they never explain it, because there's images of him with his whip. He used his whip to tie himself or tether himself to the periscope, and apparently the sub stayed at periscope depth the entire ride.
I thought there was a deleted scene where he actually found a way to...
Not that I'm aware of.
I'll have to look it up.
I won't doubt it. I'm not going to doubt you. I'm just saying, not that I'm aware of. I love that shot of her because the dress really, really shows things.
I always took it, once again, going the whole, theming thing of it being him being supernaturally helped, that he was just somehow able to keep up with the submarine.
Actually, he's 100% right. A deleted scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark shows that the sub stayed on surface level for the whole journey. And Jones clung to the periscope. I swear that I thought there was another deal where, but I guess you're right. You're 100% right.
See, this is why we do these shows, because we don't know everything about these movies. There's always more to learn.
Oh,
and there is. It's based
Black
in
Hawk
fact.
Down. That's where I saw him, because we just did Black Hawk Down a couple of months back on Military Monday, and he's in there. He's one of the regional warlords.
And I guess this is not uncommon. I mean, now it's more because of battery power, but back then they wouldn't submerge only for battle, just because it was to conserve fuel and whatnot.
Yeah, in Soderbergh's edit of this, if you didn't hear me talk about that, he turned it straight black and white, took the entire soundtrack out, no dialogue, and put music to it. This was done to Trent Reznor, this scene.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the guy in the boat who points to India and says to the Captain Katanga, there he is. That's the one from Top Secret, right?
He was the cigar chomping black dude from
Chocolate Mousse. What's his name? I think
Chocolate Mousse. Yeah, Chocolate.
Yeah.
Whose best friend was
Latrine.
I love this sub-base scene. In fact, when I play Call of Duty, there's a map on the World War II. And it always reminds me of this sub base. Christian Delorme with another $5. One last shout out to Martin. His sexy voice can only be better if it was French. Happy Canada Day, everybody. Happy Canada Day to you, to our friend. You're a good man. All right. But again, Tom, I recommend it looking for that. See if you can find it. I want to get Soderbergh's edit of this film, where he takes the entire soundtrack out, puts his own music to it, and turned it black and white. And because I saw a bit of it, and it's amazing to look at the beauty of the lighting in this film as a black and white film. And he did it the right way. He didn't just like turn the color off. He actually did the right exposure, everything in his edit to show people just how beautiful the scenes, every single scene is in this film.
Another little thing to pay attention to when he talks about it, that they're performing a Jewish ritual. So,
very uncomfortable with the Jewish ritual. Yes.
Yeah. It's basically Jewish culture, the Nazis trying to pervert it, and Jewish culture killing them. That's the ending of this movie.
That's right.
If you see the comedy movie UHF, yes, it does a great parody with the boulder scene. Yeah, love that film, dude. Big fan. I love Brock Peters as Admiral Cartwright in Star Trek 4. Brock Peters, great actor. Yeah.
Yeah,
and he was Cisco's dad.
Yeah.
Who was dead for the first 3 seasons of the show.
Oh, we don't bring that little part up. This is also a great villain moment because he's absolutely right in his assessment of the main character. And he wins, but ends up losing as a result.
And this is the scene where he eats a fly in real life. The actor went into his mouth.
It's a great accident though, because it's literally that, he's full of shit.
The commitment of that guy. He didn't move with the fly in his mouth. He ate the fly and doesn't spit it. No,
he doesn't spit it out or respond to it. React, nothing. It's just part of his environment. I'm consuming everything. And this scene is great because, like when I first saw that scene, I'm like, is that the moon over them? Why does it look so weird? It's just light.
No, but that's, as I said, the light. There's this big emphasis on light with them.
So don't look at it. Whatever you do. I'm talking about the Dial of Destiny, not the Ark.
Don't watch the Dial of
Destiny.
Destiny.
They open it and it's just sand. It's just, I love this. They thought they were going to see the actual tablets.
Maybe the tablets are at the bottom, covered in sand.
They were destroyed. I watched the movie. Charlton Heston broke them.
Yeah, but that was the first.
He got another set.
Yeah, the 2.0.
Here are the 15 commands of
10 commandments. I also like George Burns and Oh God. He's like, yeah, Moses was always forgetting crap. I had to write it down for him.
I'm like, that is great. Don't look at me. Whatever you do, don't look at it.
And this is why
this is some great animation, by the way. A lot of this is a mixture of visual effects and animation, and I really liked what they did. It's a creepy scene.
Yeah, for its time was a very good effect.
They outdid Ghostbusters in the ghost effects.
Oh yeah,
I think it's a lot of the same guys who worked on them. Actually.
It was.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the guys who went on to create Boss Films came from ILM anyway. And I think they use the same techniques, basically. But yeah, if it wasn't for this, I mean, look how much it looks like something out of Ghostbusters. Yeah.
Well, this is definitely.
I never knew how to interpret that, Tom. The sand in the thing, because
I think it was either the pieces like. Because isn't it in the Bible, like even though in the movie 10 Commandments or whatever, he just throws them and breaks them, but isn't in somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, but this is like going way back to my Bible school days, doesn't God actually strike them with lightning and destroy them that way in the Bible? Like to where it's like
I don't remember.
I think they're
that,
just like
but I do know
obliterated to
that
dust, basically, and then those particles.
in the New Testament.
Somebody please correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah,
the New Testament says the line, "And the temple was rent," and the temple it refers to is the housing of the ark. And I always took that as it meaning the breaking of the Ten Commandments, because with the New Testament, it was a whole new covenant. The Ten Commandments didn't matter anymore. That it was, and that's what that was trying to say in the New Testament. I learned that in theology class when I was going to be a priest. But here we go. This is the great scene of bureaucrats at work.
Well, the tablets aren't the only thing in the Ark. The
Ark itself is supposed to be a transmitter itself.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
But remember, the Ark was buried in sand.
There's a jar filled with manna, a golden jar, and then there's Aaron's staff that budded.
Now, this was shot in L.A. It's supposed to be D.C., but that's L.A. That's the famous courthouse used in a lot of movies.
Given what happens at the end, I've always kind of interpreted the dust being that's the ash of all the enemies of the Jews. In other words, the Ark literally vaporizes them into nothing and then just sucks them in. So,
and I always thought that this is what the Ark wanted. The Ark wanted to be put away and not used again.
It was put away in the desert.
It wants to be with the United States because the United States is good and away from those that seek it, i.e.,
honestly, I kind of looked at it in this way. It's kind of neutral. Like this was the only real way you could have it to where it was like, I mean, yeah, you could have played it off like, yeah, the U.S. used it and that's how we won the war. Or, well, in this case, it's kind of just being put in a warehouse. It's not really being used at all, right? Like no side's really using it. So more so just is out of the hands of the Yahtzees at the end of the day.
What a great film. I'm glad we did this.
It makes you wonder how much crap they did get their hands on back in the day. Not U.S. so much, but the Yahtzees, because I mean they were the ones who were first looking for all this stuff. Way before we even got involved, right?
I heard about that they may have gotten their hands on too, which they show in this new flick, is the Spear of Destiny. Was one of them that the Yahtzees had gotten hold of.
Which is really what this new movie should have been about, that or Atlantis. Let's be real. I mean,
yeah. By the way, Sol Assassin. I had pointed that out in the very first scene with him, that's Porkins from Star Wars. Glad you showed up, man. Good to see you. I see our good friend Real Nation is here too. What is up? USA good. It was like a good dad. Okay, no one gets the toy because you can't play nice. You can kind of look at it that way. You know, it's like if you know, what is that also with the whole, if I can't have you, nobody can. Just put you away.
I look at it like it got put into a box and then it got lost in the bureaucracy and they lost the paperwork.
And that's really what it is. And there's rumors that a place like that really does exist in the U.S. where we have captured things and they're just stored away that nobody's ever going to see. It's never going to see the light of day again. And they kind of show that in the last previous movie that it wasn't very good with the Russians. They showed the warehouse.
Yeah.
Didn't they?
Yes.
It's Area 51 because they have a brief shot where you actually see it because he breaks one of the containers and the Ark.
And you see the box where the Ark is.
Yeah, and Richard Bonk, Tom Waltz from IDW, and I wrote the synopsis for it and created the story called Indiana Jones and the Eye of the Pyramid, which was meant to be a comic book, but it was meant to be drawn and feel like a movie because it was done exactly in the same beats the way you would do an Indiana Jones film. And we pitched it a few years back to, this is back in 2012, 2013. No, it was before 2012. It was 2011, 2012, when we talked to the head of Dark Horse Comics. and he loved it. He like sent back, "Love this. This is great." Because Richard and I did some artwork for it. Got this great synopsis with a bunch of information, explained everything, pitch package, and we sent it to them, and they loved it, but they couldn't do it, and we couldn't figure out why. Are you kidding me? Look at the talent involved in this. You know, Richard Bonk, Tom Waltz, senior writer, me. You know, and they rejected it, but then we found out why they rejected it within a year because
they lost the license.
They lost the license, and nobody knew about it yet. This is just before news was put out about Disney buying Lucasfilm. So, changed the game. What is this here?
They don't have the Ark.
The Ark, I forget. Well, they say that the Ark is in that African temple.
It's in a temple in Ethiopia.
Yeah, that's Ethiopia because they're one of the first early Christian sects.
Yeah,
and they claim to have it. And there are those who said that there is radiation there, but it doesn't mean anything. But,
I once read that some scientists use the so-called instructions that were received to build the Ark and made a replica and by the materials.
I read about that too. This took place in the 60s or 70s, and it was in Canada.
Yeah, and the replica emits a light source of radiation.
Radiation. I read something about that too. Was it in Popular Mechanics or something like that? It was one of the sciencey nerd magazines, and I think it took place in the 60s, and I think it was in Canada. And I remember reading that shit too. Crazy stuff, man.
And only the main priest of the Church of the Hebrews is capable, or is capable. No, how can I put this? Allowed to manipulate the Ark without instantly dying.
And by the way, what is the hand gesture they do over the Ark?
Live long.
Because that was how Nimoy saw that, because he turned and peeked when they were standing over the representation of the Ark, and he saw the rabbi doing that over what was supposed to represent the Ark during the ceremony. And I'm like, holy shit. Cool.
Gerry,
yeah.
As a local Bigfoot, how can you say about that? What do you say about that?
Wait, what? The Ark is guarded by Bigfoot? Well, as a Sasquatch, it's true.
It's true, all of it.
It's true, all of it.
Oh my God, bush.
The Ark is probably being used as a barbecue grill in a trailer park outside of Tampa. They'll turn anything into a grill.
All of it.
Specifically, allowed to handle it is from the lineage of Aaron, the brother of Moses.
Yep.
God comes back and it's like, what the hell? You're worshiping my barbecue? No, I sent you guys a barbecue. I want you to have a party.
That would be
This thing's great.
Oh, what is this, Tom, that you sent me?
That is the actual news report on the Wilhelm scream.
Oh, shit. We'll get claimed if I play it, won't we?
Potentially. I don't know.
I'll delete it later. Here, let me.
It's probable, but I mean, it's worth it checking out. Just we don't have to watch the whole thing, but just like the opening bit's kind of neat, just to kind of see what happened with it.
Let's pull it up.
This is fairly fresh news.
Right,
like 3 days ago, literally. Yeah.
For my talk, we're discussing an iconic piece of Hollywood movie making. So you probably don't know what it's called, but you have definitely heard it. Listen. Uh-oh. So that famous scream sound effect in Raiders of the Lost Ark and hundreds of other movies is known
probably get
as
nailed more for this than you will.
Yeah, I was like, I got to hurry up through that.
Thanks, Tom.
The chance discovery that revealed its fascinating origin.
From Star Wars.
Stop showing copyrighted stuff.
I think from here on out, it's mostly short enough clips. You should be okay.
It seems like they often scream the same way. That's because it is the same scream. Created for the 1951 movie Distant Drums, the sound effect was used repeatedly in other movies, back in the days when new effects were expensive to record. The Wilhelm scream got its name from 1953's The Charge at Feather River, in which Private Wilhelm took an arrow to his leg. But it wasn't until the late 70s that the goofy yelp, signaling sudden demise, got a new lease on life.
A very small group of about 3 or 4 of us, we thought it was the corniest, funniest sound.
Mark Mangini has 2 Oscars for sound design and a filmography as long as a book. His friend and colleague, Ben Burtt, revived the Wilhelm scream by putting it in Star Wars in 1977.
And we thought this will be our Easter egg. So we always found a way to sneak it into a movie.
And sneak it in they did.
So which movies did you pick and choose to put the Wilhelm scream in?
Oh, many. Raiders of the Lost Ark, Gremlins, Anchorman, Die Hard with a Vengeance, Lethal Weapon 4, to name but a few. The Fifth Element.
For Mangini and other movie buffs, finding the original tapes is a connection to a storied past.
When you heard that the original was now found, what did you think?
That's kind of my Raiders of the Lost Ark moment. A great treasure was found and unearthed.
See, I thought it was
and
kind
now
of
can be
poignant.
shared with humanity.
It's comic and it's scary at the same time.
Craig Smith, a researcher at CalArts, is the one who found that great treasure of a recording session after he was given boxes of tapes from USC's film school to archive, saving them from the trash.
So how close were we to never finding this?
Close calls all over the place. Nobody wanted it. Nobody cared about it.
The discovery is an important piece of film history, a physical connection with a sound effect that's become movie lore. On that tape, you can hear the voice actor nailing it after a little direction.
Oh! Not an owl, a real scream. Pain.
One of 6 takes that the original recording offers.
It's very unique.
Midge Costin is a Hollywood sound editor and USC professor whose office is not far from.
Here's what sucks about that.
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
What sucks about it is that actor probably never got a dime.
Oh, barely
It was
anything.
used.
Yeah.
It kind of sucks that you think about it. There should be royalties for stuff like that.
Don't even know the guy's name. Just know the
didn't
character.
they say
It's
on
the
the
actor who
tape?
played Wilhelm.
No, it was no.
No?
It says on the tape who it was. That was where it actually got its coin, which was actually like the second or third time it was actually used.
Oh,
yeah.
Second time.
Yeah, it's when the soldier got shot in the leg by an arrow, and you laughed when he had that goofy face and stuff. That's what he got. That soldier's name was Wilhelm, and that's why it's called the Wilhelm scream.
But it was actually made for that other movie where the guy was getting killed by alligators. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, oh man. By the way, we got 2 more super chats. Christian Delorme for $2. What?
Sheb Woolley.
Oh, Sheb
the
Woolley.
actor.
The voice actor. Okay.
Is it really?
That's a hell of a name right there.
I say if that's who I think it is.
Too, so.
Sheb Woolley. Let's look that up.
I was gonna say he did the Purple People Eater song, didn't he? Pretty sure.
Sheb Woolley. Here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Purple People Eater. That's the same guy.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Wow.
So you did the again, Christian Delorme with the $2 super chat.
That's evidently the sound you make when you get ate by a Purple People Eater.
Purple People Eater. Hey Gary, take my money and buy you a drink. I shall later on. Let's see. And then again, is this from the beginning? Nope. Sorry, Tom and company.
Yeah, we read this one already.
Yeah,
no worries,
already.
Christian.
Okay.
Thank you for the support, brother.
Always appreciate it, man. But we have come to the end of the show. I'm glad you wanted to do this, Tom. I'm glad you did.
Gary likes to be your last call, stripper Christian.
What were you going to say, Shinatsky?
Real quick before we go, you know where else you hear the Wilhelm scream?
Besides a million other places where?
No. The audience when they're watching Dial of Destiny.
Oh, yeah. That's a good turn because I wish I was more excited here because this is a sad thing. I was actually expecting Dial of Destiny to be a little bit better than Crystal Skull and be like, you know what? yeah, there was this and that was a problem, but it was fun to see it. No, this movie is trash, utter trash. I normally don't tell people not to actively go see a film, but in this case, I really cannot recommend. This has got like one of the lowest recommendations from me. Like, I would actively tell people to avoid it. Like, even if you really want to wait till it hits Disney Plus. Don't even pay for it on video on demand. You will be depressed afterwards. Some people have enjoyed it, but at the end of the day, to me, it literally felt like a funeral after I was done watching it. There's nothing in it that feels fun. Raiders is wall-to-wall fun. Even though Indy is being, thrusted from one adventure to the next throughout the film, and he could die at any moment. And at that point, when we're kids, we don't even really, it was the only movie we ever had with him. So he could have died for all we knew, but that was part of the thrill, right? And to me, I love this film. It is very quintessential. Like, you can't say that about certain movies, but this is one of them. I have this poster hanging on my wall. It is a great, the Amsel poster art for the re-release.
Yeah.
Richard Amsel.
Yep. And, funnily enough, I saw Temple of Doom first as a kid, or at least I remember Temple of Doom. I don't remember seeing Raiders until like 86, 87 when it showed on network TV again, probably in preparation for Temple of Doom to be dropped on television. And, then eventually I got like the trilogy because McDonald's actually sold them one year for like $1.99 a tape. So that was my trilogy. I bought it and I had it for years and years and years. And I think that is one of the big reasons why these movies lived on. And unfortunately, Crystal Skull killed that momentum as far as a generational thing. And this movie is showing that. I don't blame it all on Crystal Skull. This movie is just a bad movie. Overall.
It is. And
at least in Crystal Skull, there were some fun bits. But Raiders of the Lost Ark is, as I said, a quintessential film. It should be in everybody's library.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly.
We have a last super chat.
Woo, Stripper Gerry.
There, for me, there are only 3 posters for this film, and of course,
only after 6 PBRs is Gerry getting dirty and naked. Says Christian DeLorme. Probably, especially if it's on any pain pills, then he'd really be loopy.
I'm trying to get the 3 posters right now because
they're all great, but that Amsel one, I mean, how many posters have pretty much copied that poster? Right?
Gary's a reverse stripper. The more you pay him, the more clothes he'll put on, so you don't have to see him naked.
Every Indiana Jones movie after that wanted to be one, like all the rip-offs that came out in its wake, they all copied that poster.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen that poster parodied and satirized many times.
And here, I'm going to share all 3 posters. These are the official 3 posters from Raiders of the Lost Ark for the English-American market as well as Japanese. Richard Amsel, this is the re-release.
That's the one. That's the one.
This is the original poster.
Yes, that's the original, and I like it. It's good.
Both by Richard Amsel, who died too young. He died in the 80s.
Yep.
But this one, because people don't know, Drew Struzan was working with Star Wars since the re-release of Star Wars, but he did the Japanese release of Raiders.
And a lot of people mistake Drew for doing the Raiders posters. When you're right, this is the only one he did actually do.
Friends,
yeah,
and they were contemporaries, and they also.
Well, what's weird is look at that. You just bring that back up a second here, and I'm curious if you see this, Gerry, as an artist. Look at this poster, okay, specifically, and then go back to the Struzan one. Look at
framing.
Not just the framing. Now listen to me a second. Look at that. That is so different from a lot of the shit Struzan did afterwards. Now go back to the re-release poster. Does that not look like every poster that Struzan did after this?
I do believe that.
You see what I'm saying here? Is he just kind of picked up the baton and just kept moving with it? Yeah.
Richard had an impact on him. They were friends. And I do believe he is in the new documentary. I've not seen it yet about Richard Amsel. But Amsel really was, because if you didn't know, I did do a post.
I'm not accusing him of ripping him off either. I'm saying he was clearly, like you just said, clearly an inspiration going forward, because almost every Struzan poster after that has that similar look, and you're the only artist and I'm not even just saying this to suck your dick or anything like that. You are the only other artist I have ever seen that has been able to even closely resemble that art style and do it right. The Amsel, Struzan, now you art style. Nobody else can do it. Nobody.
Well, I have an email. I will share it with you privately from Drew, who refers to me as one of the true heirs of his style. And I'm like, and what good does it do us? Because movie poster artists are dead. They just, studios don't give two shits about us anymore. And so I do book covers now. But for his Christmas gift, I don't know if you ever saw the Christmas gift I sent him. It was a beautiful little painting of Doctor Who with Matt Smith.
And I actually hope you did clip it, Six, because this guy should be doing poster work for, and I've said this, and I'm not saying this just because I know him. Gerry should be doing poster work for Hollywood. He should be doing all these covers for like Shout Factory and shit like that. That is part of the stuff that's missing in Hollywood, is the art of the poster. And you're the only one who can get that style just right. You get it. Whatever it is that Drew does, everybody can try and mimic it, but you actually do it. There's a difference.
Well, I appreciate that, dude, more than you know. I'm trying to find the JPEG right now. Here we go. I think I found it. This is the poster I did for Warpath. And I personally, I draw and paint more like Drew Struzan, but I really do love Richard Amsel. If you look at a Richard Amsel piece, like, again, I'll point this out, that's clearly Harrison Ford and stuff, but when you really get close to it, there's more of an illustrator style to it, that it's not photo accurate.
Exactly. Okay? As photo accurate as it looks from a distance, the closer you get, the less accurate it is.
Drew, on the other hand, is photo accurate
in this. But now, if you go to, like, say, a great example to contrast that with is the episode 1 poster.
Yeah,
from a distance, it looks like almost like photorealistic, but once you start moving into it, it looks less and less. And here, he's still doing more photorealistic looking.
Well, you look at this poster I did. There's Ted Raimi, by the way.
Oh, this is you?
Yeah, this is my artwork.
Holy shit! I thought this was Drew. See. This looks like a younger Drew poster here.
And the guy on the bottom left, that's my buddy Joaquin. He played the lead Indian fighter in this film. And he got me to do the poster. And I said, hell yeah, I'll do it. It's the last thing I'll ever do with Josh, sadly. But this was my nod to Richard Amsel and to Drew, because this is an exact stylistically exact replica of The Shootist with John Wayne. That's what I was going for, the look of the John Wayne poster, including the way he's holding the gun and everything. That was a fun poster. Got good money out of that.
Yeah, see? He is good. I thought that was Struzan. I thought that was an older 80s movie I'd never heard of that Struzan.
I like that poster I did for our friend Jeff.
I had never heard of that movie before.
Remember the fanzine?
Yeah, of course.
Documentary? I love doing it. That's where
I know the poster you're talking about. Yeah, the one that.
Hey, we have another super chat from Christian.
That's what I love about it. It looks like a Struzan poster.
Christian, go home. You're drunk, man.
The best part of oral.
I think he's home.
No, he's drunk enough.
If you can last 14 minutes in oral, then I don't know, man. No. Depends on the day. If it's bad oral, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, those toothy ones are rough.
I'm not only saying this to suck
Oh my
your dick.
god!
I would do that anyway.
I love this one. I'm not only saying this. You're dipping dog collars.
That's right. I would do that any day of the week.
I'll tell you who I think is one of the most valuable people that we're friends with is Six. I really do.
I don't need to polish your pole.
She does,
but I will.
Don't know how much she does for all our group.
All kidding aside, as Six says here, yes, Gerry is insanely talented. Go ahead, Schnotsky. I'm sorry. I did it to you again.
I love you, Six. I love everything about you. But I will never suck your dick.
She better not have one, or she lied to all of us.
She completely catfished.
She completely catfished the entire internet.
I'll give you 14. By the way, we're over because
and she
we're not
pulled
on,
that
she
pulled that voice off without a hitch. I mean, I was convinced.
Well, we're not on KGRA today, so we can.
I don't mind if we go over a little bit and talk a little bit because this is fun talking about this stuff. But
more money.
Oh my God,
How
more
much
stripper money.
We'll keep the show going if you keep paying.
By the way, one of my first conversations with Drew Struzan was about Blade Runner. In fact, back in the day, his first website had an article written by me that broke down how many versions of the comp poster he did for Blade Runner and that he never got fully paid for them, which is why when the first edition of the book, but I think Penguin, was it Penguin or Bantam, put the Blade Runner book out for the movie, the cover had his artwork on it. And they immediately had to pull all those books because he hadn't been paid. And then they re-released the book, 2 versions of it. One with Dave, I just forgot his name. Oh my God, I've been friends with the guy too. He did the famous Blade Runner poster with the rays of light hitting Deckard. It's really not very good because he never finished it either. That painting was never finished. Well, he did finish it before he died. And
John Alvin?
What's that?
John Alvin?
Alvin. Alvin, I had talked to him the day before he died. And the way he died, because I talked to his wife, he had gone to the gym, had a good workout, got home and it's like, I feel a little off. And he went to lay down and died right after a workout. John Alvin was a very good artist, and his, oh man, I would love to pull. We'll have to do this on another episode because I would just love to pull up John Alvin's Blade Runner poster because I guess I could do it. Fuck it. John.
Christian, real quick. Beers are great, and more importantly, I think by now you count as a producer for Pop Culture Minefield.
Who? I'm sorry, who were you talking to?
Christian Delorme.
Oh, Christian.
Sent us another super chat.
She paid for like our beer
It's a
money.
he.
So. Oh,
Christian is a dude.
Oh, really? Okay.
Way to misgender somebody, dude.
They can identify that way if they want.
If they want.
Shanowski's canceled.
Here it is. John Alvin did go back and repaint the Blade Runner poster later. And I am going to share the tabs here. Present. And Tom, I think you'll like the updated one because the original one was not very good artwork. I always found it problematic the way it was done.
And you mean actual problematic, not fake problematic?
It just didn't look right. The characters didn't look real. The only thing good about this poster was the bottom portion of it. Because this looks amazing what he did here. It's beautiful. And then you get to the characters and they're really flat looking. They look like they were painted by somebody who just learned how to airbrush. And that's because he just did this is a composition piece. It was not meant to be a finished piece. In fact, you can see the beginnings of something in the dark here that he never got to finish. It was meant to be Rutger Hauer. So later he finally got to finish the painting, and here is the finished piece. And look at the difference. Absolutely a beautiful poster. And he did this just before he died. What do you guys think of that? Oh, wait, it didn't show up.
It didn't update.
No. Yes.
Yeah, hold on. Let me do something different here. I forgot it was doing dedicated screen. Let me do a new screen. Paste and go. Here we go. There we go. This is the updated poster. Look at the difference.
Yeah.
Looks so good you can almost hear Harrison Ford grumble.
Yeah, it's just look at all the detail he put into the lighting on here.
See, that's the thing he does, and you do that too with the lines and stuff. Like you said, you zoom in, you start to just see there's just lines, and it's just there's something to it.
This is terrible. The first version, his updated version better. But then let's look up Drew Struzan Blade Runner. And by the way, I'm the one who got him the gig for the final cut. I introduced him to Charlie Deslarica.
Very nice, sir. I commend you to your additions to film history.
I have little moments where I contribute, But a lot of people don't know that he did other pieces. Like this was an early one he did, a composition black and white piece he did for the movie. And then this is the first. No, wait, no, that's the newer one. Where's it at? Ah, man, this drives me crazy. Here it is. This was the first composition piece he did. Copy image link. Paste and go.
Oh. Well, Monkey, I love you, man, but no.
But you can see Drew's work here. This is not fully completed. That is clearly not what's her name that played Priss. This was just meant to be a composition piece, and they ended up screwing up and using it for the book cover. And this is another version of it right here. This one was better. Let's do the copy image address, paste and go. There we go.
Oh.
A much better version of the same artwork by Drew. But still, it's not meant to be a finished piece. He never fully got paid for it. It's a composition piece. But he finally did get to finish the poster for the final cut, and that was this version right here.
Okay, we have another super chat from Chris.
It looks
He
like
is drunk dialing the shit out of us. And I love this poster. It really is a beautiful piece. And he's using a lot of the different techniques that I learned from him. Like here, this is not brushwork. This is a mixture of airbrush, and these are white to light colored pencils that he comes back in and highlights with them. And I love his technique on that. It's just a beautiful piece of artwork. And nobody can paint Sean Young like him. Look at that. Smoky eyes.
I love the little bits of hatching he's got going. It's great.
Oh, man. Just an amazing artist. And what did he? I got a 6-inch gash. It's
so I was right when I was being wrong. I love this.
Oh my!
Hey, did you, Tom? Did you watch the new episode?
No, I still got to watch it yet.
I'll
probably do that this afternoon or evening. I bet
it's Beavis and Butthead, and then old Beavis and Butthead. And
I didn't realize there was any more left to do, but I'll definitely. Thanks for the heads up. I'll check that out.
Yeah, I was shocked. I'm like, new ones? What? Now the first season there were 23 episodes, so maybe we got one more, but I don't know. That's really weird. It's a weird number, 23.
I just love Tom Anderson's flashbacks where he's like fixing the sink in the middle of a war zone and everyone gets shot but him.
Well, the soldiers and the Korean guy he's trying to fix the plumbing for.
Oh, I didn't see that one yet. I saw the one where they were.
That's the new one. I don't want to spoil it for you.
I saw the one with the car, but no, or the Jeep or whatever. But no, I think it's because you had reminded me something about it. I'm like, oh yeah, there's supposed to be like 22 episodes, and I think they only did 10 last year. So that might be why there's the extra one.
Weird numbers
this year.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be.
Well, see, the thing is, where I watch them, they release them cartoon to cartoon as an episode. So right now it's showing 22 episodes when it's actually what is that? 11.
Yeah,
episodes.
That's what I mean. And if there's an odd, because I can't remember if there was 11 or 10 episodes in the first season as well. I got to go back and look.
So,
because these are like new seasons, basically. I mean, they're the same show, but they're counting them as like season 1 and 2. I think.
Hey, awesome one is in the house.
Anyway,
I did notice that 3 Arts.
Somebody's laundry's done.
It's over here. 3 Arts is involved with the production of this, and isn't that the same company that does It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
I'm not sure.
What was that?
I don't know. Somebody said kaboom.
Oh, okay. All right, we're gonna get the hell out of here. Let's end the show. We're gonna go ahead and end the show, guys. Tom, thanks a lot, man. This is a great episode. This is fun.
No problem.
I want to thank everybody in the chat, of course. Keely Chow, Slasher Fred, Anima Confusa, Love of My Life, Dragon Ruse, Coach Dragon, Boosh McFadden, E. Clay Thomason, Penny, Soul Assassin, Monkey Jibus, thank you, come again, Apollomes Minions, Scribe Light, Tim, Lord Thoth, all hail Lord Thoth, That 70s Rock Fan, Dad Man Walking, Donnie Pearson, the Peter Venkman Fan Site, aka Venkman's Girl, Six, Sagacious Six, Jedi Six, no matter what, it's Six. Latino Slant, Polly, our good friend, Brandon, the anime guy. If you guys have not seen on Twitter, some dude was trying to talk shit to him, and I went and fucked with him. It's funny.
Fatality.
Brandon liked it. He's like, thanks, dude. Because I went in and I just ripped this guy apart for being stupid in public. Let's see. Sabertooth Raptor, our good friend Zach's Kyle. Let's see. Black Az, Andy Morrow, Real Wed Nation Gaming, and Awesome One. Thanks a lot, guys, for joining us today. It was a fun show. Tom, thanks for always being a good friend and
no problem
doing these things, because it's real fun talking with you. It always is. And by the way, I told somebody else, and I don't know if I told you yet. I talked about it yesterday. Glenn and I will make a formal announcement, but we are going to be doing a graphic novel together. I'm not drawing it. He and I are writing it. It's called Operation Hound Dog. It is a post-World War II story of the secret hunt for Hitler by the OSS and the SAS.
Interesting.
And when I read the synopsis to him, Glenn was in. Glenn's English. I said it needs to be written by an American and a Limey, because the two main characters, one is Limey and the other one's American. I said, and I think it should be done that way. And we talked with Frank Fosco, who does a lot of work with Chuck Dixon, but he feels uncomfortable doing soldiers. He says, I don't know if I'm equipped to draw soldiers as well as you guys do. So then he recommended another artist. So I friended him, and we're going to have a conversation hopefully this week. And hopefully that book will officially begin in September. The script will begin before that. We'll finish it by September, but the artwork will begin in September. And that's when we'll make the formal announcement, when we start showing artwork. Fun stuff. Yeah, I'm not doing the artwork. I'm just writing it.
Well, and I was going to have you help me with some concepts for Nunchuckosaurus.
Oh. One, I like the name.
Well, I'm still deciding. I haven't decided yet. I've been asking people how I should do this. Should I do a kid's book, or should I just do like a Ninja Turtles inspired comic book?
What you do is you write something that's written at your level of how you would enjoy
a kid's
things,
book.
But you do it in a very key way.
Beat me to that,
Therefore,
Tom.
even kids can enjoy it, and that way it's.
I really am leaning towards like a Ninja Turtle inspired book, but everybody keeps saying, "Oh, you should do it as a kid's book," and I mean they're not wrong. Like with all the Comicsgate stuff and the things that are offered in our community, kids' books aren't really one of them. And that's one thing we do complain, is that we don't have stuff to pass on to our kids or that we can share with our kids. So maybe, I mean, I could do like a series of books for what most people could possibly do for one comic book, perhaps. I don't know. I'd have to see. But I don't know if people would be as interested as they would a comic book. So that's the thing. I'm trying to weigh the options on it and see how it goes. I got ideas for both versions. I mean, so yeah, we definitely need to talk.
Yeah, definitely. And I look forward to talking to you about that. That sounds cool. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Christian, thank you for funding today's show.
He's done that so many times. But anyway, guys, I want to thank you all for being here. It was a fun show. I love talking about movies like this. And Saturdays is all about talking about good stuff, to get away from all the negative talk, because we all get involved with the negative talk just so much. And it gets exhausting to even us. Right, Tom? I know you get exhausted from all this, the negativity that we have to deal with some of the bad shit being released by Hollywood.
And honestly, I just had this conversation with somebody I really do respect a lot.
Unlike me.
Unlike Gerry, who actually is like you could consider a reviewer. I'm not going to say anything more, and I'm not going to say anything close to out this person at all. But you know, they're at a crossroads too, and I think this may be indicative of a lot of people. Is like they're just sick of the toxicity and the negativity. Right, and some people did enjoy this movie, and as far as the new Indiana Jones film, and let's just say that this individual did enjoy the new Indiana Jones film, and I'm not faulting them for that, but they were also starting to fall into the same kind of mentality and arguments that, no, actually not, Boosh McFadden, not that I should say that because it'll actually narrow it down even in another direction, but I think they're starting to fall into a lot of the same tropes and things that the studios are pushing onto people. And I had to kind of check this person. I mean, at least they reached out to me first to kind of apologize for certain things that were going on. And then I said something to him. I'm like, look, I get where you're coming from. And I'm sure a lot of people inside the industry and the thoughts and feelings you're expressing, they feel the same way. There's a frustration. There's this idea of just tossing their hands up in the air and walking away from it. Because I get it. Although we make fun of it, there is some truth to the idea of, a lot of people, not just one or two individuals, a lot of people put a lot of work into these movies. I get it. But that does not mean you get a pass just because of that, right? You may be bitching and complaining that people are doing nothing but bitching and complaining. But instead of bitching and complaining that people are bitching and complaining, maybe start focusing on the things that are the problem, right? Because regardless if you liked Indiana Jones, regardless if you liked The Flash, hell, regardless if you even liked The Little Mermaid or insert your flop of the year here, there is a majority of the audience that has just checked out of this crap. They're fed up with it. They don't want anymore. And we have to understand that, and to talk about things, and this is, what I said about to this individual. I'm like, look, I do shows like this that we're on right now, and my 4K for you, and certain other shows, with the explicit idea that I'm not going to get into the negativity side of things or the review side of things so much, even though we did talk a lot about Indiana Jones in the Dial of Destiny today. When we were actually talking about the first film, it was more in contrast, right?
Right.
In that respect. So I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just saying we'll give that one a pass simply because that's kind of the point of why we do this. But I don't know what we're doing next time exactly, and if we've announced it yet. But, okay, yeah, if you want to say what it is. But
I can go check real quick.
What you have here, but I wasn't sure if we were doing that or this.
Another super chat.
Because I put another one in the back. I wasn't sure when we were going to do that one.
I do have, right now, I have the next one for you and me is Beverly Hills Cop 2. Unless we pick something else and I can bump that one.
Well, I was wondering if we wanted to save that for when we finally get an idea when 4 comes out.
I can do that. I can push it way up in the future.
Because it is the 45th anniversary this weekend of Jaws 2.
Because I know RoboCop is up there too.
And RoboCop is one we have to do yet.
And I got to be honest, I'm hoping you want to do this and I can switch out the logo for John Carpenter's The Thing.
What about Buckaroo Banzai?
Got to do Buckaroo Banzai. I love Buckaroo Banzai.
So do I.
I put out a video that I had to pull because it got claimed. And it was, I took the final scene from Buckaroo Banzai and put it to the music it was actually shot to, which was Uptown Girl. And released it so people could see what it was actually, the beat that they were walking to was to Uptown Girl by Billy Joel. But I'll leave it up to you, Tom. We can talk about that later too. But I want to thank everybody.
It's totally up to you guys. Like this week, we really have nothing to connect to other than like Mission.
Well, that's just it. You and I always need to weigh that. Is like, is something going to be coming out that we could watch?
Mission Impossible is the movie I think that's coming out that week of our next.
Then we should maybe do a Mission Impossible,
or we could do the original. I don't care. That's fine with me too.
You want to do that? I'll do that. I'll set that up.
It's up to you guys. I want everybody to chime in. Yeah.
Real quick,
before going to thanks. We have a super sticker from Six and another.
Yes, it's a peach.
Is it a pooper sticker? Oh, it's a peach.
No, it's a peach.
Sent us a peach. It's a booty.
It's a booty call.
And we got one more from Christian Delorme.
From Christian.
Oh my God! Go home, Christian. You're drunk. $5
No, stay
Canadian.
home, Christian. You're drunk.
An old joke. What the difference between medium and rare? 6 inches is medium. 9 inches is rare. I like that joke. A guy said it to me in the Army, and it's also in a movie called Heartbreak Ridge, which is what's 10 inches or 12 inches in white. Clint says, what? He goes, nothing.
Oh.
So anyway, that's the end of the show. Thanks again, Tom. Thanks again, John. Thanks, Shanatsky, for being here. Martin, thank you, sir. Thank everybody in the chat again. Not going to say it again because we got to get going. And we are out of here, man. That's it. Oh, I bet you don't have the music.
I didn't even realize I had Indiana Jones on my shirt today. Look.
What?
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I totally didn't even realize it.
Look at that.
Action friends. Like
nice little happenstance.
Yeah.
All right. I'll cue it up. All right.
That's neat.
Those sons of bitches.
Ma, I'm doing a show.
I love you today. I love everything about you.
Hey, Ma, I'm doing a show.
Yeah,
hey, Ma, I'm doing a show.
Damn it, Bela.